What's up, guys? This is C, and I'm back for another review of The Chi, which was season 3, episode 8. And this episode picks up again where it left off, but this time you've got Nina and Dre taking Keisha home. So she's leaving the hospital after dealing with her ordeal for the rape and the kidnapping. So they make it home, and they're kind of handling her with kid gloves, and everybody's letting her know, we left your room, just the way you left it. And so she's kind of weirded out. She comes home, she's kind of looking around because obviously it's a change of scenery, and she's been, away for 2 months or held captive. So she's home, and she immediately goes in and she closes the door, and she sits alongside her bed, terrified, with her scissors, just kind of looking around, just in straight up fear. And it appears that, I don't know if she stayed in that same position, but she definitely stayed in her room, for 3 days, because at this point, Dre's asking Nina, we need to do something. Do you think, we need to get somebody for her to talk to? And Nina's, she is automatically, in this mode of, we're going to let Keisha tell us what she wants. And Dre's like, no, we need to push her because something's not right. And so she's like, we need to just give her time, And I kind of agree with Dre. I mean, people handle trauma in different ways, but something as serious as being, kidnapped, and her telling them that nothing happened to her, which we know to be different later on in the episode when she goes to the bathroom, because she comes out of the room finally and she beelines straight to the bathroom. Well, Kevin had just gone into the bathroom, so she knocks on the door like, Kevin, you need to come out. I need to get in there. And he's like, I just got in here. And so everybody is, trying to please Keisha or trying to keep her comfortable. So Mom goes to the door like, Kevin, you need to get out now. So he comes out, in his feelings, and then he leaves, out of the bathroom. And so she goes in and she turns the shower on, but she doesn't get in the shower, and she just kind of sits on the toilet, and she's just sitting there, listening to the background conversation. And she kind of hears Dre and Nina discuss her and Kevin, and everybody's like, do you think she's okay? Is she okay? And she can hear them discussing her in the back, but she still sits on the toilet, and she just sits there with the water running. So later on, she finally gets up and she looks at herself in the mirror, and she just breaks down when she takes her robe off, and she sees all these marks that are on her body from whatever the crazy coach guy, did to her. And so she's crying and sobbing, and my heart just breaks for her, having to deal with whatever happened in that basement. And so she comes out, and she's headed straight to her room again. They're trying to get her to eat. She's like, I'm not hungry. And she shuts her door. So that was that. So Mom is sleeping on the couch, and Dre is sleeping in the room. And there's already tension between the two of them from last episode when Dre suggested that they pack up Keisha's room, and Mom wasn't having any of that. So there's already, tension between the two of them that they need to work out eventually. So Dre comes up with an idea to call Keisha's friend over. And Keisha, she figured that would be good for her to see somebody else outside of who lives in her house. And so Mom was kind of mad about that because, first of all, Dre didn't ask her. And she's on this tip, these are my children when they're married. So it kind of makes them both of your children, since, Dre has, taken on the responsibility of being another mom to them. But her friend comes over and they knock on the door, and Keisha seems, happy enough to see her, and she pulls her into the room and she shuts the door again. So they're thinking they're making progress, and the girl comes over, and it's pretty much, just pointless chit chatter in the beginning. And so she's like, let me do something to your hair. And so Keisha, takes her scarf off, because she's been wearing this bandana with her hair just kind of underneath it any kind of way. And so the girl was like, well, all I can do is cornrows. So she was like, that's fine. So they're sitting there, and Keisha kind of wants to know, what they're saying about her in the streets or at school, what, their peers or their other students are saying. And she's like, just, little stuff, and, people are going to talk no matter what. She's kind of trying to blow it off. But I forgot to mention earlier that when Keisha came in from the bathroom, she sat right down at her laptop, and she had an article up about the kidnapper, being murdered or whatnot, being killed, the story. And she printed it out. Like, she'd been printing out articles about, her kidnapping. And so she asked her friend, well, why did you tell the news, or why did you tell the paper, that foul shit about me, or why would you say that? And so she was like, well, girl, I was on my period. She gave some weak ass excuse as to why she told them what she told them. And Keisha was like, I would never do that to you. And so they kind of get into it back and forth. And so Keisha made her ass leave. So she put her out, and the girl left. And so, Keisha again, is feeling like, damn, So Jake and Papa come over. Kevin asked if he could have company since he can't leave. And, they tell him yeah. So they come over and they go to his room and they start smoking. I don't know if it was like a THC vape or something, but it had weed or something in it. And I don't know where they got it from or what, but they were in there, smoking and doing stuff that they shouldn't have been doing under, Kevin's mom's roof, but whatever. And then a little later on, Jada and Emmett show up. And so now Nina is like, well, damn, we gonna have the whole neighborhood over. And they bring food. Well, Emmett brought food that Dom prepared for, the family to eat, because they know that it's, probably been pretty rough there the last few days, trying to deal with, taking care of Keisha. And, they're sure that, people probably hadn't been cooking or eating it. And food is just a way that any Black family is going to offer help. That's our way of helping. We're going to feed you. So they come in and they eat. And so Emmett goes to check on Kevin first. And when he comes in with his back against the wall, against the door, because the last time he came into Kevin's room, Kevin was, pleasuring himself. And so he didn't want to see that situation again. So he made sure that Kevin was decent. But when he did come in, they were all trying to fan and, get the smoke out of the air. But he smelled it. And so they were asking him, did he want some? And he was like, no, I don't trust that shit. I got to know where my weed is coming from. And so he, came in and he kind of asked, Kevin how Keisha is. And he was like, well, we don't know. She don't talk. She don't say anything. So, I don't know. So Emmett comes and he wants to talk to Keisha. And I think, when he came in, she was pretty happy to see him. Just like, she was happy to see her friend at first before she checked her about what had went down. So when he comes in, they kind of sit, and Emmett tells her how he cheated on Tiffany with Dom. And, they're kind of talking to one another. She's not going to go into detail about what happened to her, but she is comforted in knowing that she has a friend in Emmett, and they are really tight this season, and he, confesses to her, and she tells him that he needs to tell, Tiffany, and he basically needs to accept the consequence, one way or the other. She probably gonna leave you. Ain't no telling what's gonna happen, but it's better to get it out than to hold it in, or to let that shit come out, without you being the one to tell her. So they, kind of lay in the bed opposite ends and talk, and that was a really cool scene because he seemed to have gotten more out of her in that little bit of time that he was there than her family had been able to do the few days that she's been home. And so he even gets her to come out of the house to eat. I mean, not out of the house, out of the room. So they're sitting at the dining room table, and everybody is kind of laughing and joking and having a good time and whatnot. And Dre and Nina were in their bedroom because I guess they were having a little bit of a heated discussion, just because Nina is kind of fed up with Dre taking over or doing whatever she is doing to try to get to try to handle this situation. Apparently they got two different approaches on how to handle this situation, and so tension is high and emotions are high, and so they're kind of laying there trying to figure shit out. So they hear the laughter in the kitchen, and they get up and they come out and they see Keisha, and it's like, well, damn, we ain't been able to do this, and so then Jake, Kevin, and Papa, they come out and they like, can we get a plate or whatever? And so they're like, yeah. And Keisha, she was telling him that the food was good and all this other stuff. So, Emmett was feeling good about that, considering him and Dom are getting ready to go in business with one another. They're getting ready to take over Sonny's restaurant. So they're sitting there, and out of nowhere, Papa pulls out this money and he puts it on the table, and Keisha's like, what is that? And he was like, I can't keep this money. This is the money that your abductor donated to your missing fund. And so Keisha like, I don't want that shit. And so he was like, well, I don't want it either. I just, but I wanted you to know, that he had given money and all this other stuff. So that upsets her, and she turns around and she goes off and she starts asking, why did it take y'all so long to find me? And so everybody was like, we tried, and they're trying to explain themselves. And so she was like, she's going off, and then in turn, Kevin gets up, and Kevin was like, I'm tired of covering for you. You was out here. If you wasn't out here trying to be grown, this shit wouldn't have happened. And so she was like, oh, so you saying it was my fault? You saying I asked to be kidnapped and blah, blah. So, they're going off on one another. And so he was like, I'm not saying that. And he was trying to, backtrack a little bit because he like he kind of overstepped a little bit. And then next thing you know, he was asking them, he was like, yeah, I bet y'all didn't tell her that y'all were trying to pack her room up, did you? So like he went crazy at this point. And so he walked off and go to his room, and so his mama was trying to call him, and he done walked off. And so Keisha like, what the fuck? So she get up and she go to her room. So everybody went to their rooms, and now it's extremely uncomfortable because everybody else is left at the tables kind of looking around like, what the fuck just happened? And so next thing you know, the mama and Dre, they go to confront Kevin, and Kevin is giving her lip. Like, Kevin is really talking bad to his mom, and so she threatened to slap the taste out of his mouth or the shit out of him. She threatened to slap him. And, he kind of, got his mind right and apologized because he knew he was out of line, especially for disrespecting his mom like that. So everybody else, Jake, Papa, and Emmett and everybody, they're kind of like, well, maybe we should leave, I think we should go. And so they trying to get to go place and leave. And so Jada was like, I'm gonna stay behind, because she wanted to actually talk to Keisha. And this was a really touching scene because she was able to relate to Keisha. Keisha didn't know that she had been sexually assaulted, and apparently she had been sexually assaulted by a family member, because she went on to talk about how, you know, holidays were never the same. Occasions that were once supposed to be joyous started, to really bring back that anxiety, because she kind of replayed those moments over and over in her head. And she explained to her that, it wasn't something that she got over. She wasn't the same, behind it. But instead, she used that pain and she used that experience as a way to help others, and got into social work because she wanted to be able to help others deal with what she had to deal with, growing up. And so Keisha was really, taken aback by that conversation. And it seemed like it did, have some kind of impact on her. And so she left. And I don't know, and somebody, you feel free to kind of fill me in, but was the mom, was she implicating that something had happened to her too? Because when she was sitting there with Dre, she was just kind of like, well, you don't know what it's like. I think she said something like that. And she, had tears in her eyes and she was crying. So was she, sexually abused, also? I don't know. I don't know if that was where she was getting at. So kind of, if y'all could just kind of bring me up to speed or let me know if that's what she was saying. But anyway, later on, they're kind of sitting in the living room or dining room, and they hear a knock at the door, and it was Ronnie. And so they're like, Ronnie, what you doing here? And he was like, Keisha called me over and she wanted to see me. And so they were like, all right. So she's sitting at the table talking to Ronnie, and they're checking on one another, trying to see how the other one is. And she was like, I feel like I owe you my life. And so he was like, no, I feel like, you gave me, meaning. You gave my life meaning. And so he kind of talked about the light and everything, about how, that situation, he feels like that was what he needed, to feel like, he belonged in this world, because, he just lost his grandma. And now, saving Keisha kind of gives him, the ability to go on another day. And so they kind of talk to one another and about, because she killed somebody, and we know Ronnie has killed in the past also. So they kind of share that in common. And he tells her, it's gonna bother you. I see the person every day. I see the person that I kill, every day is not a day I don't see him. He said, but promise me this, you won't turn to brown liquor. He don't want her to drink her sorrows away, to drown in her sorrows and, become an alcoholic like he is. And, she promised him. And so they pretty much end their conversation. I forgot to mention earlier that, Keisha was kind of spiraling, because she was saying, I can't wait to leave Chicago. I can't wait to get out of here and go to college. And, Dre and her mom had to tell her, they gave your scholarship away because she was going to run track in college. And since she had been missing, they assumed the worst, I suppose, and gave her scholarship away. So she, was pissed, as she should have been. But that was something else, that was weighing on her. So she had all of this, and thinking that she was going to be able to go away and start over, so to speak, and to find out that that's taken away from her too, that had to be a punch to the gut. So the episode ends with, Nina, Dre, and Keisha walking outside. She agreed to go to therapy. And so when she comes outside, they come down the stairs and she kind of stops. And, you could tell it's going to take, everything in her to muster up the courage to come outside, to, take those necessary steps to, to heal. And they walk back to her and they kind of, gather around her to let her know, we got you. And so that's how the episode ends. If I forgot anything, because this was a really good episode to me, it focused, the focus was in one place. It was in the apartment the whole episode. And, they didn't delve into any of the other storylines this episode because all the focus was on Keisha, her trauma, and, the effect that it had on the family as well with her returning. So if I forgot anything, please remind me or let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'll be putting out more content, and I'll be getting better and better as time goes along. Like, this is my 3rd video, and I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye.